We have another follower submission here. Title of this one is, Am I the Astronaut for Outing My Dead Mother's Husband? My mom passed away on Easter very unexpectedly. We were all at Easter dinner when my mom tells me that she isn't feeling well and asked me to check her blood pressure. I have a medical background. Her blood pressure was outrageous, so I told her she was going to be mad and called our local squad. Fast forward to the hospital, her husband, my husband, and I were in the room waiting to hear what was going on. I say husband like that because husband's in quotations. So fast forward to the hospital, her husband, my husband, and I were in the room waiting to hear what was going on. The doctor comes in and tells us that she didn't make it. Her husband immediately leaves the hospital. Not just the room, the whole hospital. I asked follow-up questions and then proceed to call him to find out if he will not be returning. He tells me, "It's not my place. You will have to handle it." Mind you, I am her only child with 3 grandchildren and 1 on the way due in October, so I do just that and handle everything. Every single decision. I made it with the support of my husband and my family. He did the bare minimum and acted shady for the entire following week. In my mind, at least. Fast forward to 1 week from the day my mother died, and I get a phone call to do some checking into the woman who has been at my mother's house every day since the night she died. For reference, my grandmother 100% financed said house for my mother. It turns out he had already moved a woman into my mom's house, but because of the 3 of them, mother, grandmother, and him, were on the deed, there was nothing we could do. 2 months later, while we paid all the bills for the house he and his mistress were living in, we had to buy him out of the property. Now, granted, we did this for the least amount possible. However, my mother's life insurance and 401k, etc. were all left to him. We're now fighting, trying to get him to pay at least the funeral bill out of the life insurance. He and the new woman moved out and took everything of my mother's with the exception of the specific heirlooms I requested and her clothes/shoes and Christmas decorations. While I'm thankful that I have the important things to me, I can't help but be bitter. The man whom my mom barely knew for 5 years disinherited me and my children and the remainder of my family. I sat on it for months and kept my mouth shut not to out him over his secret. I had recently started having nightmares regarding my mom's death and the situation until finally I put it all out there. I kept my post factual and to the point, trying to leave my thoughts and anger out and only stating things I could prove in court should I have to. Almost forgot to mention, 2 days after she died, he called and cussed me because I still had her cell phone, even though I'd given him her wedding rings, which she paid for, and her wallet, which he is not on her checking account. So I had literally given him every aspect of her I had except the phone. He was extremely mean and hateful on the phone, and after about 15 minutes tells me he was sorry he hadn't taken his medication. All of this has weighed so heavily on me, and it isn't even about the money. For me, it's the fact that you could out your only child and grandchildren, and the fact that he can live with himself for doing the same when we've proven he was cheating on my mom even before her death and was with the mistress the morning of my mom's death, which I assume could have contributed to her death from all of the stress and anxiety of what he was doing behind her back. But yet still, after all the hell this man has put my family through, I can't help but feel a little guilty for posting. Am I the asshole? Okay, so the situation here was OP had not just suspicions, but knew that this was going on ahead of time, felt like she had to talk it out, and did a post. But where did the post happen? Okay, so the second part of that is in personal Facebook, no allegations, only facts. I have no idea if he's seen it or not. You haven't blocked. Okay, so he didn't have any kind of reaction from that the post triggered. Okay. I mean, I would assume that if there were some kind of poisoning or some kind of something that they did to cause this to speed along, that it would have been something that they found. You know what? If it's your private Facebook, right? So the people that you've chosen to share it with, you made the decision to have this discussion with, basically, kind of like we do here, right? I don't think you're an asshole at all for doing that. I think you're feeling bad for it enough to wonder if you are the asshole is what concerns me here, because this person, in a vacuum, saying or understand, if my understanding of the situation is everything that you've given to us on face value here, you've got someone who's got no problem mistreating you in every single way. You feeling bad for starting this conversation post where you're wondering about these things and about these things that are bugging you just for doing that. Number one, I think shows us that you're an empathetic human being, right? Where he's got to be some kind of a robotic asshole. You have feelings. You're able to feel remorse, to wonder if you're the asshole, and just wondering is enough in this case to kind of show us that you're not, but he is. So balance of scales here. I wouldn't feel bad, and you got a long way to go before you can start feeling bad, but that's against your own benchmark, not what he's done. It's your mom. I mean, it's not like you have an applicable experience to put this up against. You're allowed to feel things. You're allowed to discuss how you feel, and you're not making any allegations or anything. So I wouldn't feel bad about it at all. NTA. Yeah, NTA. 100% NTA here, OP. And I think not just comparing yourself to the evil that you're facing, which I think there has to be a true evil element to it. And in here, we'll go ahead and assign him the official ask on 1 to show you where you are on the extreme opposite end of the spectrum with him here. You are so far from being the evil that he is, and he's not concerned about how big of an asshole he's being at all, and he's not asking anybody if they think he's being the asshole because he's accepted it. This is 100% understandable, and I don't think anybody's going to fault you for that. NTA. And that's a hellish thing to have to go through, and I'm sorry that you went through it.